There it is.
Meeting is on
There it
record.
is. Golf clap.
I'm running around a 50% effective rate on remembering to do that. Uh, so now that we are officially being recorded, I'd like to offer up welcome to this morning and gratitude. Thank you for making time to be with us. Time is really important for this morning. I know that we've got things that we got to do, so I'm not gonna not do a long preamble other than to tell you this. We're excited to get started. We're going to talk about that first topic about identifying with your goals, and I'm super pumped to tell you that what we probably didn't share in the kickoff is that we have invited a special guest to conduct our conversation today. Miss Mo Sirois, team manager extraordinaire, is going to kind of start a conversation with you around what you read,
Speed
what you
demon.
thought, and where we want to go with this. So, Miss Mo, I hand it over to you.
Hi, everybody. And Red, you finally recorded all of the nice things you had to say about me. Y'all weren't here yesterday, but he said all of the really nice things and then decided to record. So I was like, okay, I see how it is. Guys, I'm really happy to be here with you today. I was able to do this session last year. And to be quite honest, it's probably my favorite subject out of the whole workbook because it's the part that you have to almost be the most vulnerable in my opinion, which is truly assessing what you will identify for your goals. And so some expectations that I have, guys, for the session, come off mute. I would even just love it if you weren't on mute right now. It's a discussion, and I know how it is if something jumps into your head, but yet you've got to reach for the mouse to take yourself off mute. Sometimes the conversation changes and you miss that opportunity. And I don't want you guys to have to worry about that today. So feel free, be off mute, and let's just have a discussion. It's early, and so we're just going to do that. There's no expectations. I'm not going to share a screen and like do anything like that. Like we're really just going to have a conversation, and I want everyone to share. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's whatever you will identify with, and we'll just take it from there. Sound good?
Yes.
Everyone ready?
Let's
All
go.
right. All
Ready.
right. Let's go. Let's go. So I'm going to start first. I think today you guys being here on your own time is a pretty awesome thing. And it shows your willingness and your want to identify with goals and to kind of explore who you are as leaders and where your journey takes you. So I want to ask. I asked the group this yesterday, and I want to ask you all: is anyone achieving a goal just by being here today?
Yes.
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So what happened? Did you see EmpowerMe last year and think, I want to do that, but didn't maybe pull the trigger, or maybe it wasn't the right time? And then when you saw it this year, we're like, doing it.
Yeah. For me, 100%. Like I remember when I saw it last year, like I talked about doing it and I was like, meh, like I don't know, I don't think I'm ready. And a lot of my stuff with my goals is it's me realizing like what's everyone's been talking about, and the major thing of like fear of what that's going to look like, and having to sacrifice and having to change my schedule and having kids and not knowing how that's going to work. And I think the first week, like reflecting on all that and looking through it and just being here and being a part of it, it's still scary for me because I don't know, that step up in responsibility and moving towards that is still gives me fear because I don't want to make mistakes and I don't want to piss people, because I naturally just piss people off in general. That's the major reason I haven't promoted, because I'm just really
Listen, it's
that's
about
me.
embracing that, and then I like that you recognized it, Michael.
No, I just think I come off super blunt. I'm from an Italian family near Boston. Like I'm probably the most abrasive person you're ever gonna meet in your life, and I've worked on that a lot at T-Mobile. But it all kind of ties in with how much I've learned here and how much I feel like I'm finally ready, and that's why I'm here. So that's me.
I like that.
Awesome.
I
So,
Thank
actually
you.
relate to that too.
Good stuff.
so Megan, you said you can relate. How can you relate?
Yeah. So basically, I had taken on back at the end of 2018. I started my career journey. I'm not my career. Oh my gosh, my college journey. And I had a lot on my plate, and then we had like just everything kind of happened. So I was like, I don't know if I'm willing to make the change in my schedule. I had the morning shift. I loved it. I was like, I don't want to add more to my plate than I already have. And I'm coming up on the tail end now of my college journey. And I'm like, okay, what do I actually want to accomplish here at T-Mobile? Because I've always had my eyes set on training But now I'm kind of like opening my eyes to maybe there's something more that I want, and I want to have that chance to explore what I want and how I want to get there. So I just like getting CE last year, I had to change my schedule anyway. So I was like, you know what? I want to actually take that step to find out what is important to me here at T-Mobile so that way I know where to go and how to get there.
I love that.
Congratulations on getting CE, by the way.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Yeah, that is
congratulations.
awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know
So,
a
like,
couple other people started to share and to say that they could relate. Is there anyone else that wants to share?
so I was actually thinking, I know that you mentioned the Empower Me session last year, which I love because I actually wasn't employed here last year when we first started. I am a newer employee with T-Mobile. So, like, the way I found out about it was I checked my email. And, I find myself to be a really motivated person, and I just want to do the best with whatever I have. So for me, it was a no-brainer. I talked to my coach about it, and she says, "Oh yeah, you're doing it." I was
I
gonna
like
sign
that
up
you
for
didn't
it
even have an
anyway.
option. I love that.
Yeah, no, I talked to Tiffany, and she's like, "Yeah, no, you're doing it, 100%." So, for me, I think it's really cool that we're all just making the decision to be here and to better ourselves in the process.
I agree.
Like,
I agree.
yeah,
Listen, there's no other people I'd rather spend a morning with or people that are looking to advance and move themselves forward. And whether that means, to the next level or just to better yourselves, I'm all about it. And I think that's pretty awesome. So y'all kind of touched on a part of the getting to know yourself, in my opinion. So what I heard from a couple of you is I wasn't ready. It wasn't the right time. But now it is, right? Does that still mean though that even though it wasn't the right time that you stopped setting goals? Because maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't the right time, right? So in your workbook, one of the the very first step I believe is what's your timeline? What's your timeline, right? So even if you're able to identify that it wasn't the right time, how did you still set goals?
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't.
I
I did.
set short term, like for
Yeah.
personally, especially just being in my college classes, like they're 10-week courses. So my goal was let's just make it to the end of those 10 weeks and like see and reevaluate where I am and how I feel. Like I just set very short term goals and that just got me to that next step because like I mean I can't lie, the last year has been super challenging. The last 2 years has been super challenging. So just making it like short term attainable goals, that was my key to just making it through.
100%. And like with me, I totally agree with that when it comes to short-term goals. I also think that when it comes to setting longer term goals, it's important to loosen them up to allow for surprises and
Hmm.
to allow for things that you can't really expect or anticipate with life. And to not let something, bog you down or derail you from the long term goal, even if it's like a temporary block in the road.
What's the benefit of leaving yourself some freedom and with time? What's the benefit of that?
The benefit to that, I mean, it allows for surprises, right? Like, you don't know what's going to happen. There's things that happen unexpectedly. We just had someone in this meeting that shared that they couldn't make a meeting because they had an unexpected baby.
Mm.
So, setting longer term goals allows you to, focus on those when you're able to, know that you're going to get there eventually, but it also gives you some time to, pause and relish in the important stuff.
I love that. I think
No,
that's
that was
very
really
true.
well said. Yeah, that was it's totally true. And I love that Megan had also said, like it kind of just ties into Megan's statement about the last 2 years, right? Like the 20s so far haven't been very
No.
very pleasant, right? At least in the Roaring 20s, they had, speakeasies and Tommy guns,
Where's the
right? Like they could
speakeasies?
they could have a little bit of fun. But like these last,
Some of us still have those, Jonathan.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not Zimba. I'm aware. But at the end of it, right? Like you can't plan for absolutely everything, right? Like who planned for a pandemic, right? Nobody. Who planned for all of these things that have happened? Absolutely not. But that shouldn't stop you from reaching something that's long term. It might delay it, right? But it shouldn't stop you from continuing to work towards whatever that goal might be. And in the meantime, you make the smaller goals so that you can continue to see progress and continue to stay motivated and you continue to work, right? Like if you have a goal and you're working towards that, it's still a goal, you're going to achieve it. But if you stop the work and you stop moving forward and you stop it trying to attain those small little goals in between, it ends up just being a dream. And a once in a, maybe once sometime, maybe if I hit the megabucks, then I gotta take any work to hit the megabucks, right? But like a goal has to have the work and the effort behind it in order to reach it. So don't let your goals become just dreams.
Don't let your dreams be dreams.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just do it. I was gonna say, like, I think for me, like, I struggled at T-Mobile in the beginning. I was always very good at like my job, like performance-wise. Like I do really well on calls, but my major issue was just communication and having tact and those things. And I feel like I've developed that over time here, and it's a great personal skill to have too. That's what I love about this company is a lot of the things I've learned in this job just help my life. They don't just help like, you know, anyways. So goal setting for me, I've been
I think we
those
all
are
knew exactly where you were going, so you're good.
Yeah.
those type of things, those are the type of things I've been working on. Like I haven't really been like, this is the position I want to go to, because I'm scared. Like I eventually want to become a TM. I'm very business minded. I think once I learn to develop tact, how to manage others, how to manage myself, make sure I come in with my game face on every day and stay consistent, not just like sometimes. Like that's one thing I realized with this job, you have to be consistent every single day. You can't have big setbacks. It just doesn't work. And I think just working on myself and developing myself to a point where now I feel like, and maybe I could have done this last time. I don't know. That's where I'm weird on this goals thing because I don't really know. Like, could I have done this last EmpowerMe meeting? Maybe I didn't feel ready, but maybe I took it the wrong way. Maybe I thought like it was a little bit more than just exploring yourself. So maybe the fear was there, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. I've just been working on little things with my coaches. What's the best thing for me to develop into looking into leadership? And now it's like, okay, I know what I want to do and I know the path. I just need to continue to work on the small goals and then also have like I put 1 to 2 years as my goal to get to CE because I have so much life stuff going on. I could go hard and just like apply every time and really put the work in, but I also have a 3-month-old and a 5-year-old and it's nuts and there's a lot going on outside of that and there's been a lot of other big issues in my life like she was dealing with school. Like I can relate to that. There's just a lot going on I think in a lot of people's lives right now and it's scary. It's like I kind of would rather just keep this one job that I have and let that be the constant and then let everything else just be wild. It's kind of hard to like take the one thing that hasn't changed for me for the last 5 years being an expert and just like let that be my unchanging because everything else is changing involuntarily. I feel like.
I gotta
So
say, I
that's where
really
I'm at.
like what you just said, Michael. I think that's really amazing that, identifying where your, the spot is where you're comfortable and just allowing yourself to be in that spot while you work on everything else around you. I think that's really an interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And okay, right? Like you
Right.
don't have to
Yeah.
push yourself in every
I know
place
that
all
wasn't
the
super
time.
positive and like lofty and nice like everyone else has been saying. I'm just like kind of saying where I'm at and like I haven't had a super like I just want to be great and move forward. And I've been really just trying to deal with stuff while also improving myself every day. Like being reflective. Like, what did I screw up on yesterday? How can I be better tomorrow? And how can I make that stick? Don't just do it because I want to promote, but do it to make myself better so that that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't stop happening. Because I feel like
Yes.
that's another thing is there are a lot of people who become coach and I'm like, why? Why are you a coach? You don't even actually care. You just kind of rushed into it and I feel like you're going to burn out and it's not going to work. And I've seen people not do well at it. And I don't want to be that. I don't want to get there and just spin my tires and eventually stop. Like, I want to keep getting better and moving. And I feel like genuine growth is different than temporary growth. If you do it the right way and you're surrounded by the right people and you're self reflective enough.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, one thing real quick. So one thing you said a little further back, Mike, and I think everybody can kind of relate to this. And I know I had a really good conversation with one of my agents who's a part of this program. We were going through those first set of questions, and they were like, I'm looking at these questions and I just don't get it. Like whatever reason, my brain just like seizes up. Like the very first question, like Mo talked about, was like, what's your timeline? He's like, I don't know what my timeline is. I don't know what my goal is. And like, I don't know why it's my goal yet. It's like, okay, well, Mike, you said, I got other things going on. Like I know, like in a year or two, like that's where I want to get to that first step of my goal. And because you got other things going on, so further down that set of questions, and I was talking to Red about this, there's a question that says like, is your goal reasonable? Right? So is that a reasonable timeline? Like how long is it until you start going like, nah, like I can't wait that long. If you say
And don't
5
make
years to be
yourself
a
sad
CE,
if you can't make it. Like that's the other
right?
thing is I don't want to be mad at myself if I set a low goal and then like feel like I'm fighting and grasping to go get it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't want to be in that position.
Well, and that's one of the things I think when Mo had asked, like, what's the benefit of having a goal that has some flexibility to it, or however it was that you put it, Mo, is you need to see progress, right? Like for anybody, I think it's human nature. If you're not seeing progress, it's easy to give up. It's easy to just be like, oh, it's not worth it. If I'm dieting and I get on the scale every other day and I'm not losing any weight, why the hell don't I just eat what I want to eat,
Steak and
right?
cheese
And you just don't.
time.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
So if you set those mile markers and you give yourself the flexibility to allow yourself the ability to advance and to see some change or to make some interaction, that to me that would be why I wouldn't want to put a hard date or a hard line in the sand, because if you don't achieve it, to your point, then now you're going to be down on yourself. And this whole game is about being right in your head. Advancement and development for yourself is you've got to be in a good mental space in order to kind of have that ambition
You
and
really do.
confidence to want to move forward. All right, I'm dropping the
Personal.
microphone, Mo. I'll pass it back to you.
Um, no, Mike, when you were talking, I know that you made the comment after to say, I know it wasn't like it was negative and it wasn't as positive as what everyone else said. And I didn't take it that way, honestly, at all.
Same.
To me, what you said was more of, I couldn't look forward to advancing in my professional career because I really needed to take care of my personal life. In my opinion, the two go hand in hand. And then you started to kind of go there, and you started to talk a little bit about how like everything that you learn at T-Mobile helps you in the outside world. But let's talk for a second about those personal goals and how do they make you better in your professional world? And have you guys experienced that? I know, Mike,
I
you
want,
started to say that you were.
Yeah,
Who else is kind of
immensely
going
for me.
through that journey?
yeah, I want to hear from somebody else.
I loved how vulnerable that was, and I took it in the super positive light too. I think it's really cool
Hmm.
that you shared that. And I also was just gonna say too, Mo, that can I call you Mo? Have I earned that title
Yes, of
yet? Okay,
course.
cool.
Oh my
If you
gosh.
Maureen, it would be weird. So
How
don't.
incredibly forward of you,
Okay.
Sean.
Awesome. So yeah, no, I mean, the two do go hand in hand. I mean, every single time I come into work, like, I'm thinking about what I want to do with my career, but it also stems from what I want with my personal goals. I want a big old house. I want a real nice car. We got the Chevy Equinox now. She's great, but it's time for an upgrade, right? So
She's
like
She
great.
is great.
so I
My
mean they
car's a she
definitely
too.
go.
So
Yes, oh, absolutely. Her name's Linda. I love her. But no, she goes hand
Call me
it goes
Linda.
it goes hand in hand in all honesty. So that's what motivates me. And it did, like, for me, I had some things that happened. I had some people I had to remove from my life this year because they were just bogging me down. And,
Mm,
I could
That's
not
huge.
advance or get into the correct mindset to forward myself in my professional career until I handled what was, in my personal life first. So definitely, like, props to you for sharing that and kind of igniting that conversation because it's so important.
yeah. I think it lets everyone know that they're not alone. And guys, I'll definitely share that Well, I mean, for those of you that have worked with me, I think it's easy to see that I've transitioned on the outside. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, I had a tremendous change and lost like a ton of weight. But in order to do that though, right, those were all like personal goals that I had set for myself. And in order to do that in my workspace, I literally lived in the world that Mike wanted to live in, which is like really just want to focus on like work. I don't want to take on anything extra. I really just want to like dive into my people in my community and be with them and just spend time there so that I could focus more on the outside, right? Because it is hard to balance goals that you maybe have in your personal life and then goals that you have in the workplace. Like that's not easy to do. And when you have goals in both places, that's even harder in my opinion, right? Because it's a constant battle. And this whole session is about identifying with your goals. And if you haven't truly identified, they're not going to mean enough to you to want to really stick with them, right? It's not your heart, it's not your passion. And so you really, Mike, without knowing that you did, really sparked, I think, a vulnerable conversation that I think most people in this room are really going through that journey right now to say, I have kids and I have a life outside of work, and I know that in order to
I
advance
envy the
myself.
young single people right now. Like I look at their life. I hate to say I love my family, but I look at some of these
Yeah.
like 23 somethings and they're coming in and they're peppy and they get promoted in 6 months and I'm like, man, if I just like could have that much energy to put into it and not have so much. And that's really I've gotten better at balancing, but that's really what it's all about is I have to make sure that I'm at my best for my family because that's more important to me and it always will be at
Yeah.
any point. I'll take
It gives
golf
you
for
more
the
to
rest of
work
my life
for.
if I never have that ability, you know.
Yeah. It gives you more to work for. Carrie, did you have a question or a comment to say? I
I'm
want to make sure you
arriving,
get time.
just arriving late due to lack of call control, I guess, or a person that needed a lot of extra love. But I can't tell you how much I relate to that. I don't really want to overshare, but I'll just say, so I can give you an example that's not super personal. When mm, my focus was on running my soccer program, and I worked here, I didn't realize how much I was limiting myself by the amount of time and energy and the sacrifices I was willing to make around scheduling and what team and coach I was with to be able to do that second job. And I wasn't able to have any success even at work as an individual, not even talking about a career, just even talking about just achieving success at the job you do have
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
I retired from coaching um, the fall of 2020, and then 2021 I got the trip or whatever, and it's like I used to do things like split my shift, work part of my shift, run practice, and then
Nice
go
job,
back
Kirk.
and do the second half of the shift. No, congratulations, you guys.
Yeah,
I
we're
haven't
all
seen
like,
that in the
yay!
same.
Yeah,
So
we want to
it's an
celebrate.
obvious thing. It's an obvious thing, and I believe, and I think I'm making another change now in my personal life that is going to have a similar effect, because of the amount of time and energy it takes up, and a lot of it has to do with you're looking at the hours that you're on the field or that you're with whatever situation is going on, but it's all the emails and texts and social media things coming in for that responsibility constantly while you're trying to do your job that you got to keep up with all these parents and players and things or whatever else you have in your life that takes a lot of time and effort, and you cannot be your best you at all under those circumstances, especially if it's an emotionally charged situation. So
Yeah,
what
it's
you were
tough.
saying really was impactful for me. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, for
Thank you,
sure.
Yeah,
Carrie.
thanks for telling your story. That was nice to hear like a real life situation. I've been pretty vague. I'm just like talking about certain things, but not really sharing my story.
Yeah.
I don't like to get into that because I could talk forever. I already talked too much. I'll just be quick. I'm sorry. I could literally talk to you guys the whole meeting by myself. Just so you know, I could talk all day. So I will
I think we all
stop.
could.
Yeah.
I think Mike and
I
I
think
might have to go to the same support group then. That's always been my thing.
yeah. Well, I think if anything, we've learned how personal goals, right, at times can take priority over maybe our professional goals, but they're so intertwined. And both are just as equally as important. Both are just as equally as important. So thank you all
Absolutely.
for sharing that piece. Like, I love that. I love that. We all got a little vulnerable there at 8:30 in the morning. Go figure, huh?
Never
Go
a bad
figure.
time to be vulnerable and bring your struggles with other people. It shows
For
that
sure.
and I think we don't do it enough these days, and it makes me sad. So
I agree.
I
It
like to
just
be
helps us
the
relate.
catalyst for that.
100%. Red?
So Mo, and this will be your call, but I've been like just scribbling down notes, so I'm gonna
As
touch on
always.
about a half dozen things that came in about the topic we're talking about today, and the reason why I start with Mo is this is Mo's show. But Mo, I'd like to kind of maybe can we consider touching back into the identify part and maybe the power and the reason why it's in the title, and the personal stories and the timing. If it's not the right time, uh, I wasn't ready or I didn't feel ready or all of those things, right? Um, and on a personal note, if you guys are curious to know, I didn't start really getting serious about a career specifically in leadership until I was 38. But I've been working since I was 12. So, maybe a lot of squandered time. I should have ran that lawn mowing business instead of just pushing the mower. But the thing about timing is at
I feel
38,
that.
38 is when it dawned on me that I had to kind of go through, really step back and say, well, I was working. I showed up every day. I gave everything I had, but I didn't have like a purpose. I wasn't connected to the actions that I was doing. I just earned a paycheck. And I mean, I earned it. I was going to be the number one employer or your best guy to go and, and do X amount of work. But I just started to kind of say, well, I don't know if I can do this at 38. If I have to look 5 years from now, could I continue to be here? And so for me, I didn't like wake up one day and go, I think I'll just want to try the leadership. I just knew that I didn't think I could sustain another 5 years the way I was earning and supporting and taking care of my family. So for me, my goal setting started with not so much what I wanted, what I didn't think I could continue to do. I didn't want to be in the same spot within 5 years, which started to change then how I looked around me. There were jobs before where I was like, I'd never do that. That ain't me. Right. And then because I knew I didn't want to be where I was like, well, why do I not like that? Or why is that freak me out or frighten me or scare the shit out of me? And then so my goal setting, very clunky as it was then I had to kind of say, well, shit, man, I might need to embrace some fears. Right. And I have a quote in the, if any of y'all, made a mistake and accepted a friend request from Red Sharples on my Facebook page, I have a quote that says, sometimes we realize we're ready only after we've completed a challenge. It's just, and I said, I think I finished as life can be funny that way because sometimes we don't do it intentionally. We just realize I just survived that shit, and here I am. So I'm saying all this to you. This is part of my personal story is to say part of this goal setting discussion is it's good to kind of say, well, what's my timeline? Where would I like to end up within that timeline? But really the power is why do I pick this? Why is this important to me? Where do I actually show up in my goals? Right? It's my profile, right? There's my picture, but I want you to see why I've got my goals. When I talk to Mo and Jonna, they have an audacious goal about like walking the eastern seaboard of United States, right? They want to hike if I'm spilling the beans, I'm sorry guys, but they want to hike the
No,
Appalachian
this
Trail,
is gonna happen. This will
right?
happen.
So
Yes.
as a goal, everybody in the room be like, damn, right? But that's it. I don't know shit about these two. Why
I
did
would
you
die
pick
by
that
the time
goal,
I hit Portland. I'm not
right?
gonna lie. I'm in
But,
good shape.
but think about it though. Then you want to know is why would you set that goal? Why is that important to you? And that's where you discover what motivates and drives them as people, as human beings. And so as we move into the next, half hour of our conversation and we start talking about our experiences and our goals, I want you to kind of take that opportunity and be vulnerable and kind of say, well, I got to be honest with you. Someday, I like that, Mike. I see myself as a manager. I see myself at this level, which everyone can agree that's a pretty damn, solid goal. But stay in that conversation. Say, why is that important to you? And my guess is there's going to be some things around, you as the provider for your family. But does that also answer some of those things that make you who you are as a unique individual, right? And that's creative, problem solving, building things. That's where I'd love to see us take our conversation to. Does that make sense?
Love it. Yes.
Yeah, I
And
like
I'm
it.
going to go back to scribbling my notes and hand this back
No, I
to
love
Miss
your
Mo.
notes. I love
Yeah.
your notes. I love your notes.
Yeah.
When you were talking, it made me think we had talked yesterday about 2 different tactics to truly identify what you're interested in. And I think half the room was split between it's really easy for me to tell you what I absolutely do not want to do. And then the other half of the room was like, if no money were an option and I could do anything that I wanted, that might be an easier way to identify what I'm interested in, right? And we actually kind of did it a little bit, and everyone truly like identified. So I want to pose that question: which is easier for you? So let's talk about truly like identifying what's important to you. Are you the type of person where it's easier to long list what you hate and what you don't want to do? Or we talked a little bit about dreamers earlier, right? Is it easier for you to long list if money were not an option, time were not an option, your history and your background wasn't a playing factor, and you could do anything that you wanted? Which is an easier route for you to take?
It's
For
such a
you.
hard
Yeah,
question.
I think
I,
it
I think
really
me
is.
personally, like, I I don't know. You know the show Dirty Jobs
Yeah.
that you see on
Yes.
TV?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's like my favorite show. So I'm always in my head thinking like, oh, I would love to try like another cool job. So it's definitely easier for me to like make a list on what I'd like to try versus not try. Personally,
I agree.
What is it about the dirty jobs that you'd want?
Yeah.
Is it the fact that it's different every day, or like,
yeah, that's
yeah?
exactly it. It's like different every day. That's like my
All
dream.
right. I like it. What
I
about
totally agree
what
with that.
about
I'm in the
being
same
it?
boat.
Yeah. What about it being different every day?
It's just fun, I think everyone, some
Fun.
people like, having the same thing every day, but me
Yep.
personally, that's exciting. No matter what
Fear of
industry you're
burnout.
in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, Sean. I was going to say that. Like, I'm and this is just a personal thing. Like, I am very good at looking at a situation from like a wide perspective and seeing how I can make it more efficient. And I think that's why I want to get into management, because having coaches, having the team, doing the job myself at this point, building all those skills, and then looking at it as a whole, I feel like I have a lot to offer. Like, I've gotten so good at the job at this point. There's too many people on the phone telling me I need to get off and go teach other people. And I'm like hearing that and hearing it from my coach. And I feel like I'm at the point now where it just comes down to consistently. Like, do I want to work today at work or do I not? And then my coach has to like tell me to get off my ass some days and like, Mike, grow up, use your signature response. And I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean? And some days I'm just like that. And I want to get into a position where it's dynamic enough to where I stay interested. I get so disinterested in the everyday, mundane. And I feel like with more responsibility, it would stimulate my mind enough. I don't feel stimulated at all in the job anymore. I just don't. And I think that's why I need to move on, is I need something that's going to challenge me. And it's something that I can constantly, if I have 50 people under me, like, I don't have the ability to sleep, you know what I mean? And that's just going to feel better for me at this point, if that makes sense. Maybe that's not a good way of looking at it, but that's where I'm at.
No,
Well,
I can
you're
It's
definitely, you're
understand.
definitely
Yeah.
accurate.
stimulating is stimulating. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So
All right. And I can understand the need for it to be different every day, to be exciting every day. And so thank you, Nick, for sharing. Anyone the opposite though? Is it easier for someone is there anyone where it's easier to long list what you don't like,
I
and
think it's
kind of
more
narrow
about
down your interest from there?
I
it's
feel like I start
responsibility.
there.
Is that you, Dara? Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah,
Go
no,
ahead,
I
Dar.
feel like I start thinking, oh, it's just so much easier for me to say, I don't ever want to be responsible for somebody else's life again. I don't ever want to be in a position where I have to wipe somebody's butt again. I don't ever want to like start listing off the things that I never want to try or
Yeah.
go to again. But then I get in positions where, so I'm pretty lofty in my ideas and where I'd like to go if money was no option, what I'd
Good.
like to do. But all of those things still tie back to some of those things that I never want to do again. And so I start to
Interesting.
get grounded as I tie where my heart lies and what my passions are. When I start to tie that together, it becomes this intricate like weave of stuff that I have discovered about myself. So I might not want to do this. I might detest doing it, but I might be really good at it. And so it gives me an opportunity to potentially be in a position to further myself on those lofty goals because I'm able to accomplish it successfully or whatever. So it's really strange to be in that halfway point where I want those big lofty goals and dreams and chasing after them, but I also recognize that some of those checklists of the things that I absolutely hate are necessary to get me there.
True
Work.
story. Yeah.
Love that.
It's
Yeah.
the work. It's that hustle, right? Like, thank you for sharing that, Dara. You kind of put it all together. It was good.
Carrie, you had started to
Carrie.
share.
I just, I don't know that I really have my thoughts together on it, but the thing I would just like to add is that the most difficult thing for me has been um, balancing what is your responsibilities like as a human being, and what's realistic in that situation. You know, it's almost a daring to. I always was like the big dreamer that had the lofty goals, and then life happens, and you can't take the same kind of risks when you're responsible for other people that you can when it's just you. Like I could, if I was doing a dream, I'm gonna make a fake one, but pretend I wanted to be a painter. I could live in a studio apartment and eat ramen and paint and be happy or whatever the people say playing the guitar on the beach in Hawaii or whatever their thing is. And
That sounds
I don't
beautiful.
need much, but I feel like the people I'm responsible for, or I'll just say my daughter, okay, deserves what I don't want her life to be impacted. She's not signing up to sacrifice or whatever, and so you find yourself doing jobs that are nowhere in the ballpark of your interests or um, I don't know a better way to explain it, but it's not even.
You have
It
to
almost
sacrifice
seems,
your career to take care of the people that are most important to you, and it stunts you.
and so the challenge beyond like the things that I don't really understand, like networking and the challenges of like when you don't have the title, acting as if leading from your seat, and um, and just balancing out what you have to do is not as much freedom sometimes to be like playing around with career changes and stuff. I guess I just would say that it has to be something where there's a steady income. Obviously, it's not like that where you could picture if money wasn't a factor, because
Yeah.
of that.
So you're a long lister. You're gonna list out the things that you know that you need, right, in your life, and the things that are important, and then the things that you don't want to do.
There's nothing. I would do a job
You do
getting
anything.
kicked in the hoo ha to take care of people.
I
So
love it.
it's like that's not the thing. I just think that it is there are some advantages to being young with no responsibilities. You can move at any time. You can take any job. You can work any hours or any shift, and um, it sometimes takes a lot of behind the scenes work to put yourself in that position, depending on what those responsibilities are.
I understand
Building
that.
autonomy.
So
Yeah.
Carrie, I want to throw something out there as not a young person myself, that we're talking about is a lot of what we talked about last night when we talked about these goals and we talked about what you would, your dream job, so to speak. We came to discover that, yeah, maybe being, for your example, and I know you said this wasn't like legit, your example, but painting on the beach, right? the reason it's so important to discover what it is that you're actually passionate about is so that you can figure out what it is about that job that creates that level of interest and enthusiasm and drive and motivation. So then you can start to look around at what is available to you and what's the most closely related to those types of attributes, or actions or responsibilities, and find out how you can turn what you are doing today that is within your grasp, because you can't live on the beach making no money and still support your family. But what could you do, let's say, from a marketing or a creative standpoint? What is it about painting that would make you, that gives you that buzz, right? And then how can you do that in your job? So maybe it's not everything about your job, but maybe it's enough where you find that level of fulfillment. You see where I'm going?
Yeah. Thank you.
It's finding the
Can
components,
I
I
just say?
think.
Go
Yes,
ahead, Alicia.
Betsy. Oh yeah, Alicia, go.
For me, it's always been finding the components of, what it is. I've similar situation, like Carrie was saying, that it's very much about doing the things that you enjoy and that you're passionate about by all means, but tying them then into the real world where you have a spouse or a partner and children and cars and gas, et cetera, et cetera. So it's being able to figure that out. And one of the things for me that I've always found, I've been involved in theater since I was in school. I always would put it on the back burner because there was never time. And I started thinking about what it was, the pieces of it, and interacting and working with people. And I was able to take some of those bits and pull it into previous roles that I've been in. And then, and on the off chance that, you are in a situation that is nothing, on surface is nothing like what I thought it would be. It's exactly about what Greg said. It's finding those pieces. How can you bring it in? What can you do? But also being able to add in a little bit of the element to make sure that your own cup is full, because I've learned probably the hard way that you can't pour from your cup to give to other people, either work or in personal life, unless your cup is full. And it's about finding the little bits that fill your cup. Um, so to the question of whether I'm a long lister or making the list of the things I don't like, I'm very much about both. It's about trying to find the bits that I want to be able to pursue and how it fits in. This is all new for me. I'm very new to T-Mobile. I had a very good friend who was a coach, who literally said to me flat out, no, this is the direction. I've known you long enough now to know that there's more opportunity. You need to figure out what you want to do and go for it. And so for me, it's very much about seeing how I fit into T-Mobile, but the opportunities and the avenues. And so I'm working on building those lists and figuring it out, but also trying to be mindful of making sure that my cup is filled as well.
That's
Yes.
amazing. Thank you so much for
Yes.
sharing that. I love that.
Mhm.
Yay. And I know you said you were newer to T-Mobile, so welcome. We're definitely very lucky
Thank
to
you.
have you and your thought process, because I think everything that you said was amazing and it was so relatable, so relatable. I saw everyone in the room like shaking their head, like yes. Joel, I see your hand up. I want to make sure you have an opportunity to share too.
And
Yeah,
then
do
we're gonna go to Betsy after, because Betsy also had something to say. So don't forget what you said, Betsy. Go ahead, Joel.
Awesome. I just want to say, sorry I'm late, guys. I wanted to come this morning, but my furnace was, well, I had bleeded and all that jazz. But, I wanted to jump into the conversation here. It is kind of cheating because I've gone through the whole thing twice. So this is like, I get a different perspective on this assignment.
Alumni.
Um,
Alumni.
I love
and
it.
the first time I spent so much time trying to focus, what do I want to do here? What's the insight? What's the goals? What's the job? This time around, I've already explored different things at T-Mobile. I have an idea of what I want to do, and I know what I want to do personally. And I've realized that a career doesn't have to be just one thing. It can be a combination of everything you're doing. I want to succeed with graphic design, which is a passion I have. But that's not a realistic Joel that's going to have health insurance, things like that, which T-Mobile is. So I have found a way to combine it. So now my goal at T-Mobile is to find a job I love here or a schedule that's going to accommodate. And I have been able to do much better with time management and get a lot more graphic design jobs with networking, which, we'll talk about later on. But yeah, setting these goals has been great. And I'm definitely much more prepared with looking at goals with T-Mobile this time around, just based on the other stuff I've done with EmpowerMe already.
I'm
Nice.
going to add something to Joel's long list, but Joel kind of downplays this whole graphic design, but he is absolutely incredible whenever he is given something to, hey, here's my vision. Even if it's minimal of what that vision is, he can put it together and make it look absolutely spectacular. But what he's also been able to do is, yes, he's probably doing some graphic design stuff outside of work, but we're also able to utilize that talent here as well, right? Like we have announcements and things that we need to send out. So talk to your leader and talk to the people around you about your passions and about your goals and the things that you want to get out of your life, because then it can lead to other experiences as well. So Joel is one example. We have another individual that works in the building whose passion is videography, and he's
He's on my
fantastic
team
at
too.
it. Yes. And he does a lot of videos and things for the site, and just the other day he was able, when we had there was a whole film crew here the other day. It was insane. It was like legit real stuff, but he was able to take that opportunity and walk through the site with them and get to learn what they do and what is the marketing department and what are you guys doing to put this together, and ask those questions and have that experience as well. So we wouldn't know that those were things that they were passionate about or that they had goals in those areas if they didn't tell us. And then there may be that opportunity where we can help you flourish in that area as well and still maintain and grow in the role that you're currently doing. So talk to somebody. Betsy. And
So,
congratulations, Joel.
yes, congratulations. Thinking about it, I think one of the best parts about any development for me has become collaboration. And so hearing what other people say has become super valuable to me. And I guess what I would share is being another oldie, Zimba and I are kind of like, have some, whatever Greg said. But I had known when I was a young parent, right, and had to make sacrifices, and I made sacrifices with my family for my job. And looking back, I realized I was investing in my job, not myself. And so when that job ended and my children didn't get to see me on an important day, guess who didn't care? Was that job. I really poured myself into it and I
Yeah.
made personal sacrifices. That job ended and I was no longer part of their thought process. And during that process, I hadn't invested in myself. So when I think about my goals, it's not so much employment goals as it's employee goals. How am I going to develop myself? And if I have to make sacrifices, is it going to be something that's going to carry value into my future, whether I fall off the face of T-Mobile? Um, so when I have young kids and it's a lot, it gets better. When they start getting older and you have that time, it's wonderful. And I love seeing that people are investing in their own personal employee growth, so that they can carry it no matter what sacrifice they make.
Beautiful.
Betsy.
Beautifully
Oh,
said,
Love
Betsy.
that.
how does
Yeah.
anyone say anything after that?
I know. I don't even know.
Yeah. In closing,
Yeah.
I know.
Betsy took us home.
Um,
Yeah. Is there
that is
anybody that hasn't shared, that's wanted to share, that hasn't had the courage to come off of mute and talk to us? Because we want to hear from you too. And it's okay if you don't. It's totally okay if you don't. But just want to make sure we give that time. Thank
Yeah,
you
I
so
guess I
much
could. I
for
guess I could
sharing,
come out of
guys.
my shell. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? A little bit. And
You've been very quiet.
Yeah, so quiet. It's the quietest I've ever heard you, Michael. No, but for real, you've shared some great insight
Yeah.
and some awesome experiences that we can all learn from. And every honestly, like everything that you guys are saying and putting out there, I love where your brains are at. And you guys, what you have to look at for this program too is it's at the right time. And it sounds like it's coming at the right time for most of you, right? Based on where you're at and what you're thinking and the goals that you want to set and the things that you want to achieve. So I'm so excited to be able to work with this crew over the next lot of months, really really listen and hear you guys out and hear what your progress has been. And just what it does for your life. Just the other day, we had somebody that is an alumni that went through this process that it changed their lives, right? It was at the right moment and at the right time. And it all kind of just fell into place and clicked. And this person is flourishing in what she's doing here, but as well as what's going on the outside world, right? Or her outside world. Joel, right, is a great experience. So you guys, the only reason why you can't do something is because you believe that you can't. So if you believe that you can, all of your goals are possible. You just got to put in the work.
100%. I think what I want to leave you guys with is we were talking about long listing what you don't like and what you do like. And what I'll tell you is whatever list you come up with is going to change. And I want to make sure that I promote leaving yourself enough flexibility to allow that to change. Your desires are going to change. At one point in my career at T-Mobile, I thought I wanted to be a trainer. And I did 8 weeks as a TA, and I hated every day of my 8 weeks. I just did. It wasn't for me. It wasn't what I wanted to do. I didn't feel like I didn't have a connection to it, right? So it wasn't for me just about like promoting into that role. I wanted to do something that I truly loved and that I was passionate about. But you don't always get that right the first time. And I would definitely tell you to engage those that you're close with, what your interests are and what your goals are. Because they're the ones that are going to push you and challenge you. And if they even remotely have an idea of what you're interested in, they can see paths and avenues that you can't even see. I think it's fair to say every role that I've had here at T-Mobile, I didn't see myself in that role until someone else saw it in me. But all I did was share, I know I want to do more. I know I want to do something. Here's what I like to do. And so be vulnerable with those people that are close to you. Because those are the ones that are the stepping blocks to really truly help you get where you want to go and help you get through when you're like, shit, I picked the wrong path and I hate it over here. How do I get back to the other path? Okay. They're like your bailout option and your sounding board to be able to like talk that through. Okay. So that is absolutely one thing that I want to make sure that I leave you guys with today. And I want to give my cohorts here an opportunity to kind of leave some last words with you, if they have any. I'm sure they do. I know, Jonna, you kind of had your moment.
Yeah, I'm done.
I'll give you another one if you need another one.
I mean, I love the attention, but
I can give a super quick one.
There you go, Greg.
Just to try to save time for everyone else. Guys, the most common thing that I get as the recruiter, for those of you that don't know me, I'm the recruiter for the center, is people that swing by my desk seeking for me to tell them what their next job should be. I don't like what I'm doing, to go back to Mo's point, right? They recognize they need a change, they want to change, they don't want to lose benefits, they don't want to lose tenure. They're tapping out. And those conversations, unfortunately, as nice as I might want to be, don't go very well because the time and the effort has not been put into it on what they want. And it's not that it doesn't go well because I'm going to beat them up based on what they're saying. It's because I cannot help somebody that doesn't know what they want.
Yeah.
I can't direct that kind of traffic. It doesn't make any sense. Somebody pulls up to your house and says, hey, I need some help. I'm lost. You're like, where are you going? They're like, fuck if I know.
I don't know.
Like, you can't, that's not, that you
Call an
can't do that. So you all need to really understand that this is why this is the first step, is understanding your goals so that you can seek that help. You can network, you can do all these other things that we're going to be talking about as we go down the road. Don't overlook this and make it a light, oh yeah, goals are important. Like that's the most important way to get started. And I'm going to zip it.
This is
Super short. Just kidding.
Okay, they go. I think this was really impactful for me today because how I got to T-Mobile was having a totally different separate goal that I invested a ton of time and energy in, and then like kind of found out like that's not how it works, and then I like had to take this job to make more money fast. And so I had an art degree. I was coaching soccer at Waterville, and I was like, I want to be the art teacher. Went back to school, took all these online classes, got A's, got certified to teach art K through 12, and then found out the positions just don't really exist. People stay in them forever. There's only a couple per school district, and without moving or like commuting, and there's like already existing art teachers that are part-time that can slide into those roles when they do open up with a long history of having done that job. So new, same thing with like college soccer coaches. They have assistant D1 coaches, right? That are already have this awesome resume, and then they come from this program and step in. And so I think it kind of made me think that that's not how it works. That like you just have to get with the like, okay, I just want to make more money then at least. Like if I can't do the, and so I couldn't see how to get from A to B and didn't have anyone to like hold your hand through it or whatever, and telling people about it didn't seem to do anything. So I'm really curious about the rest of the stuff that we're talking about now, because maybe if somebody helps you to make a plan for it, or maybe someone who's walked through it before can be like, this is how I did it or whatever. And that's sort of what I've always been looking for, because it hasn't really been successful with trying to go out and make it happen on my own.
Yeah. Well,
because
you're
it's
in
just-
you're in the right place. You're in the right place. Like continue your journey and empower me. You're going to constantly be surrounded by people that are going through the exact same thing as you, and that can kind of lead you through how they achieved their success, or even just how they overcame their struggles. And maybe they weren't even successful on the other side. They still went through that experience. And so you're in the right place, Carrie. I'm glad you're a part of the crew.
When I read that question that said, what will they say about you at your funeral? And I knew nobody's going to say he never missed a closing, or like he made an offer on every call, or like he always uses
You don't know that.
C2
I'd
before he
say
asks
that,
for help.
Gary.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because Derek
Always
actually
below 500
stopped me and
CRT.
told me
Good
about my
guy.
verbatims, but you know what I mean. It was kind of like, anyway, I'm glad that I read that. I'm glad that I thought about those things.
It's awesome. Just keep
Okay.
asking questions, guys. That's the only thing I'll add is, like, as you go through this material, if you got a mentor, you got a coach, you got a TM, ask them about it. Tell them about the questions that you're answering. Like, talk about it out loud with other people. Hear yourself talk about it. And if you're looking for opportunities and like your ways to get into spots, like, ask for it, right? Because either you're going to get it, or they're going to say, this is what I need to see from you in order to get there. And there you go. Your path's made. But you're never going to get anywhere without, you were talking about manifesting in the chat. Manifest it by talking about it with other people. Make it a reality. Make it who you are and what you're doing.
Excellent point. And
Love it.
we're 3 minutes over, and I want to be mindful and respectful of where you guys need to be. To Derek's point, this program isn't designed to say now you know everything about goals. It's supposed to help you now start a conversation. So please go out and follow up on those questions. Please reach out to our EmpowerME committee and to Miss Mo and continue the conversation. Next up, guys, is strengths. I'll be sending you a one-pager on the outside chance you didn't save your book or you can't remember where you saved it. We got you covered by Friday. I'll send out the page, and we'll send out some things for you to kind of keep in mind as we move through the next month. I love you guys. Thank you so much for attending. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.
You guys
See
are
you on
awesome.
You guys,
next.
bye guys.
Great.
Manifest
See
to
everybody.
BMW for me.
Thanks, Mo.
Manifesting
Bye,
for you.
guys.